Hey everybody, welcome back to the Knowledge Broker Podcast. I'm Joshua Campbell, and joining me as always is Trish Rizwick. Let me fix it again. Ready? Stop. You watch. Ready? One more time. Okay, ready? Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Knowledge Broker Podcast. I'm Joshua Campbell, and joining me as always is Trish Rizwick.
Yay! It only took you 2 tries.
There.
And I'm going to include both in the podcast.
There we go.
All right, well, how you doing, Josh?
I'm very good.
Yeah?
How are you?
Are you excited about I'm good. Thank you for asking. Excited about the podcast today?
Yeah, always.
Okay, good, because we are actually diving into one of what I like to call a Josh-ism today. Yes.
Looking forward to finding out what this is.
Yes. So you've actually mentioned it on the podcast already. When we were talking about hiring your dream team, you mentioned it and brought it up, and I thought it would be a really good podcast episode to talk about because I think it is really important. So I understand that it's kind of lost on the audio medium, but I have brought a diagram. So all of our visual listeners can kind of see it, but the audio guys, I will explain it a little bit more into detail for you. Josh, I know you recognize this.
Yes.
This was actually something that on my job interview with Josh, he drew out for me. So this is why I find it super, super important to talk about because, I mean, it was one of the most impactful things that Josh introduced to me before I even started working here. So do you want to kind of break it down a little bit?
So it is the 4 quadrants that we spoke about before in regards to whether you have to find a job that you're good at. So if you could take your skill set, and we're going to overlap that with what you like. So if your skill set is, you could number it 1 to 4, but we'll put it in quadrants. But number 1, highly skilled. Number 2, not bad skilled. Number 3, not that skilled. Number 4, not skilled at all. And then you go from the top of like what I love, what you like, what you find okay, what you hate. The trick is to line up what you love and what you're skilled at.
Yeah.
And that's your job. And then if you line up what you hate and what you're not good at, that's what you delegate. You delegate also what you're okay at and you kind of enjoy. You realistically get rid of everything that you're not good at and you don't love.
Yeah, because basically to, I guess, dumb that down a little bit, what you like to do and what you're good at is your job. You want to make that your job.
Correct.
What you like to do and what you're bad at is a hobby.
Correct.
Because that's something you can improve on, but not something that you can improve on overnight.
Agreed. For personal.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to work, we're not good at everything. So the stuff that we're not good at, we definitely should delegate.
Yes.
Anything that we're not good at, we delegate. We never delegate what we're good at and what we love. So if you can remember those 2 things, never delegate what you're good at and what you love, and the rest of it, find someone else to likely do it when the timing's right.
Yeah, definitely. And then the last 2 quadrants are you hate to do it, but you're good at it. And to that I say, well, why even bother? And that's kind of what we're going to focus on a lot today. In our episode, when we were talking about hiring your dream team, we also talked about how people will settle for jobs because maybe they're just good at it, or maybe it's just a money thing. So what we really want to focus on in today's episode is trying to find comfort in the discomfort. We want to find ways to help everybody out there be able to find their dream job, find the job that they love, and kind of the process in order to do that. But I did want to just finish up with the quadrants. The last quadrant is if you hate to do it and you're bad at it, seriously, why are you doing it? That should never be something you do. And going back to what you say, delegate it.
Sounds like slavery or something. Sounds horrible.
Right?
Like literally you are being forced to do something that you really hate to do.
It kind of sounds like a first job.
Not even. It literally sounds like you're working in an atmosphere that is the worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing in the world. I don't think you should never be paid. It's torture.
Yeah.
And I think that if people can realize that what you're not good at and what you hate doing, it is torture.
Oh,
and people that feel it, they go through torture every single day.
Yeah. And that's why we're here to help you people. We don't want you to torture yourself, and we don't want you to be miserable.
Maybe I shouldn't have used the slavery as a definition. It's just the thing that came to my mind, but it's kind of the way that I would think of yourself. I'd be working literally like a slave to something that I hated.
Oh, I definitely think
Yeah.
that's
And it doesn't make you feel good to
no,
do anything like that.
makes you do something that you don't want to do every day.
Sure. It almost feels forced, really.
Yeah, exactly. So drawing on that, how do you think we end up in each of those boxes? I mean, I can speak for myself that I've definitely probably experienced almost every single one of those boxes before in my career. So how do you think we end up in those?
We're in those every day. Every single day, we're in each of those boxes. You'll find that hopefully during the day, if you can find a way to get to what you love and what you like and not do the other things as much, you'll find yourself more energized. You'll find yourself more organized. You'll find yourself motivated. The more we find ourselves in the other boxes, the more we're drained. So by the end of the day, if you feel like you're exhausted, you didn't necessarily feel like you accomplished much, you feel like you hate your job, you probably are in the other boxes. So the trick is to try and remain in the main box, because then you'll have a much more fruitful life, enjoy your job a lot more. Now the question is, how do we avoid these things?
Yeah.
You have to really write down everything you do and be very reflective on yourself. You have to. If you're not, then you'll never really be able to understand what's really upsetting you.
Yeah.
So if you were able to write down everything that you do, people should do this on personal life too. Everything in a personal life. When you're meeting with, say you're throwing an event at your house and you find throwing an event very stressful, maybe you really enjoy it though. Write down everything you do and see what stuff's really stressful and see if someone else will take it over, because they might love it. No different than when you're at work. Like, there's stuff that we find that we're not really drawn to naturally. Someone else is. So the trick is to just recognize and then pivot and make changes.
Yeah. So if you do find yourself in the position that exactly what you said, if you're, you can't focus on something for more than a couple hours, if you feel tired at the end of the day, drawn out, like you've just wasted a day, that's probably a really good sign that you're not in the right career. You're not in the right choice for you.
It's a good, what do we call it? Like a reflection point, or like, it's one of those moments where if you know yourself, you probably should come home happy, rejuvenated.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're coming home happy and rejuvenated, you probably didn't work. And they say that you shouldn't, your best job shouldn't feel like work. So if you do get the opportunity and you find yourself very happy when you come home, you're likely doing the exact jobs and tasks that were meant for you. If you find yourself off a little bit, it's a perfect time to go, okay, what's changed? Because there's a lot of stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis that worked for us yesterday, but we're not always the same people. We constantly change, look for new things to do, and that's when we sit there and drop old things.
Yeah. So before we get into, I've got 7 steps, and I definitely want to hear what you have to say about them and see if we can add on to those in any way. But before we get into them, did you ever find yourself in a job that fit in one of those other boxes that wasn't you like it and you're good at it? And how did you get out of that?
I could tell you one that I was really good at, but I didn't like it.
Okay, perfect.
I worked at Tim Hortons actually, and I did like a lot of the baking and the prep in the back, and I would finish very quickly. I was really organized, put everything together. I found repetition, which I loved, and then before you know it, I had 4 or 5 hours left in an 8-hour shift, to where they would just give me projects. Clean this, clean that, clean this, clean that. Eventually I'd clean the whole place, and then they would look at me and it would be like, there's nothing else to do. So they'd almost send me home without pay to finish the day.
Oh, wow.
Which would drive me nuts, because I did my job that other people take 8 hours in. Then I did other people's jobs. And then I got sent home because I was done. I found it, I guess, debilitating. It really sucked the life out of me that I wasn't getting paid what I was worth. And then outperformance was not rewarded. And a lot of that really finds myself doing entrepreneurial type work, where I'm like, no, if I'm going to put an 8-hour shift in, I want to get paid for my 8-hour shift. If I'm going to do 4 people's jobs, I want to get paid for 4 people's jobs if I can accomplish it in the same amount of time.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I can safely say I've been in, like I said, all those boxes. I mean, doing something that I was bad at and I didn't like was definitely when I was working as a cashier at No Frills, my first ever job. I'm not very strong with math. I can't do math. Math and I just do not agree. So when people would say like, "Oh, how much change do I get back?" and I've already closed the till or something like that, I'd be like, can you give me just a quick second? I got to pull up my calculator." And it was just a job that I just found like it was a first job for me, right?
Sure.
But then I've moved on to I worked in a restaurant, and the restaurant I've worked in a ton of restaurants and I loved them. Like, don't get me wrong, some of the restaurants I worked in were so nice. Once I got, into the swing of things, once I was able to communicate with my management and stuff. But very similar to what you were saying, which, you could get all these jobs and you could do all these things and people were just like, "Okay, you can go home now." Like, that was like the recognition you got. It was like, "No, I want you to say like, yes, here's a raise," or, "Great job," or, "We can't do this without you," or something like that. Something to
Here's like 3 or 4 new employees, train them.
Yes, because that's honestly, I found too, one of the highest praises I think you can receive is if your manager or your business owner or whatever actually says, "Can you train this person?"
Yeah.
That's like, oh my gosh, that's like the most heavenly thing sent to you. Like, that's someone that hopefully you respect saying, "Hey, I trust you enough to train this person."
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we digress.
Fair enough.
Okay, so let's get on with the 7 tips, I think, to help you find your perfect job. And again, disagree, agree with me, because that's what this whole thing is about. Anyone at home, if you have any other tips to finding or getting out of a funk, please let us know. Let us know your stories. I'd love to hear them, because I think it's pretty fascinating how many people can go from doing one thing that they maybe liked but weren't good at, or something that they didn't like but were good at, and where they are now.
Yeah.
I think that's a really incredible story. I mean, even just looking at yours, like from Tim Hortons to Knowledge Broker. What a transformation.
It's the adaptability. It's just adapt, and recognition of yourself.
Yeah.
And just know yourself.
Yeah, because I think a really important thing is that you need to understand that nothing in this world is guaranteed. Things will change, and you need to be able to adapt to the changing times and adapt to the different landscape that you're in.
Mm-hmm. Christy went to a Buddhist class yesterday, and she came home and...
Christy being Josh's wife,
yes.
just for if you don't know.
And we used to attend them quite a bit. And now Christy's going because we have kids and I stay home, and I'll get to attend a few as well. And they came home and they talked about, and it's not even necessarily a Buddhist thought, it very much is practical. Everything in this world is temporary. Everything. Maybe life and death are the only guarantees, but everything else in between, temporary. So it's almost, if you can come to terms with the fact that if it's temporary, while you're enjoying it, make sure you enjoy it. While you're not enjoying it, remember, it's just temporary. So temporary is everything. So we have to adapt and learn in order to be able to find ourselves in a better, happier spot.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go from there, because I think that was such a good sentence, Josh. Thank you, Christy, for attending that Buddhist class. Okay, so the first one that I would think, and you've kind of already mentioned it, is start with what you love. So make a list of things that inspire you, that you enjoy doing or participating in. They can be very specific or very mundane. If you like making tea or something in the morning, something as simple as that.
I would challenge you for 1 sec.
Yeah.
I hate challenging you because we don't want to ever challenge each other. However, this is a nice part to add on to. You're better to write down all the stuff you already do. Don't write down the things that you love to do. Write down everything you do now.
Yeah.
And then do and mark them and score them. Because that will make us realize if we don't enjoy them, then you can find the stuff that you love to do. So as of right now, the first tip should probably entail what you already do now. Because what you love to do, that's dream world, which is great, but that doesn't necessarily apply to what you're doing now. You have to find out what you can reduce and get rid of now in order to replace it with those. Yes.
So I would actually would say that's not a challenge. I completely agree with you. I think you need to create a list of things you love, things that you're currently doing, and then be able to see the connections between them.
Yeah.
Because say, for example, I love editing. I get my kicks for editing video. And that's something that I do personally, and it's something that I do professionally. So, if I made my list of all the things I love to do and then the things that I'm doing currently, I see those two things match up right away. And those are such important things to notice because, I've been in jobs where I wasn't editing video, but why wouldn't I do the thing that I love to do and that I'm good at?
Yeah. Funny enough, I'm pretty good at editing video, but I hate it. And it's not the fact that I don't. And the funny thing is, when you hate it, I think I hate in my world. For me, it's very monotonous to do the same thing over and over again, tweak it by like a hair, which the hairs matter, but I find like looking for hairs drives me nuts.
And that is why Josh delegated to me.
Yeah.
See,
Well, no, I found someone that loved it. Delegate's a tough one because it
Yeah.
feels like you're like getting rid of something you don't like, but it kind of, I guess it is.
Yeah.
But it's also very much like empowering someone else to have the ability to do something they love and what they're good at.
guys, full circle here.
Sounds better than delegate.
Everything is connecting. Okay. Then the second one. Now this is probably the most, I guess, problematic one. But just for this example, let's just roll with it. Eliminate money from the equation. Now, obviously, you can't eliminate money entirely from your equation, but I definitely don't think you should pick jobs solely based on what you're getting paid. I find in most cases that people find themselves unhappy or because they've settled for a job that, they're like, hey, we can pay you this, but it's not really in the same lineage as what you want to do. I know for myself, I have a number of friends that, they're saying, oh, well, I say, oh, you went for a job interview. That's great. What was it like? Oh, well, it'll pay, $42,000 a year. Okay, well, what's the job? What are you doing? And they're like, oh, I do this, this, and that, and the other thing. And I go, that doesn't sound like anything you're interested in. So that's kind of what I mean by it.
I've also, I get the flip side too, where people get paid really, really well and they hate their work.
Yeah.
The money's not everything to the point that, I have a friend of mine, he's a CPA, saw him the other day, and he said that he needs out. He does well, hates it, every moment of it, wants to do something completely different, went to school for this, educated himself in it, hates it, can't touch it anymore, doesn't want to be there. So you can do the opposite too. I mean, like, volunteering feels good. We do it for free. We need to find a way to get paid, but also feel like we're doing it for free. If you can find that and have it support your lifestyle, you're probably in the right job.
Yeah, and even like actors, they say it all the time. I would do this for free. It's great if you get paid for it, but I would do this for free. And I guess it's one thing if a guy who makes like $500 million on a movie says it, but it is kind of true. I mean, again, like, I love editing. I would do it for free. I mean, I did it for free.
We find ourselves doing these things for free. When you find yourself doing something for free and you're good at it, probably find a way to make money at it, and you probably have a perfect career.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 3. This is my tip. This is something that might not suit everyone and might not be it might not be accessible to everybody. But one of the biggest things that I did was I took time off. So I saved up money and I decided to leave for 2 months and get out of Newmarket, get out of the job that I was in, kind of have a blank slate. And the only reason why I say this is because as someone who was in a job that basically I came home every day and I just hated everything about it. I didn't come home from work being like, oh my gosh, you'll never guess what I got to do at work today.
How much did it make you hate everything else too?
Everything. I was miserable last year. And so I went forward. I went to New Zealand for 2 months and I didn't have a job, which was really awkward because I got to border control and they were like, how are you going to pay for this trip? And I'm like, I've saved money. Don't you worry. I'm enjoying my time here.
I did stuff I hated to get here.
Exactly. And when I got there, it was almost like I got to press a restart button. I got to pause my life at home and be able to kind of find myself again, center myself and say like, hey, this is what I went to school for. This is what I want to do. I don't want to be doing sales or whatever I was doing before. I want to be working in the career that I want to have. And it was awesome because I came home and it was like that mentality was still with me. I wasn't in the mentality anymore of, oh, I'll just work here. I'll just do this. I'll settle for that. It was like, no, I'm going to find what I want to do. And if you have the opportunity to do that, I highly suggest everyone do that. Just take like 2 weeks even. I took 2 months, which is a long time. If you can, take 2 weeks, go somewhere, figure who you are, come back and recenter yourself.
I did the exact same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've done it a few times too. It's good to do it a few times. Get in the habit of doing it. I went away for a couple months. I did Southeast Asia. Same concept. Went away. You feel like everything's a jumble. You also take everything so damn seriously. Everything pisses you off. And then you go away and you realize what's important. you come back with a fresh mindset, and you realize where you should be, and you make changes.
Yeah.
Christy, my wife, we're really proponents of independent time to get to know yourself. So whether it's courses, trips, weekends, anything that someone needs where they just need to go and be alone and have creativity come back is the key to probably knowing yourself the best.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's kind of step one, is to figure out who you are
Sure
and where
is.
you want to
It's
be.
never step one. It should be step one.
Yeah.
No one really does it as step one.
I guess
We
not.
do it as in hindsight, 2020.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I'm glad you liked that one, because that was one that I found the most useful. And I can definitely say if anyone was as miserable as I was during those like 8 months I worked there, then
Feel bad for everybody that knew her then. Just kidding.
actually, it's so funny. I met my best friend at that job, and that's like the one thing that I always take away. I'm like, I was miserable as all heck, but got my best friend out of it. So
That's the flip side too. You found the positive and the negative.
exactly. And that's kind of the way I look at it now. But
Yeah.
definitely the trip was one of the best things I've ever done for myself.
Question on the side. Do you guys have something in common? Both hating what you did.
Oh, yeah.
So it's funny how you connected because you both didn't like it.
Actually, yeah, it was funny. It was one of those things that as soon as I met her, I was like, can I tell you something honestly? And then we talked about it and we're like, okay, so we both hate our jobs. Okay, good. I think I can
Let's be
get through
friends.
this. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so moving on. Be realistic and work twice as hard. So I say that in the sense that, say you like making pizza. You're like, oh my God, I love making pizza. I'm fantastic at making pizza. I should open my own pizzeria. Where's the error in that? Have you ever worked in a pizzeria? Have you ever worked in a restaurant? Do you know what it's like owning your own business? Are you ready for the overhead that comes with owning your own business? I definitely, obviously, I don't want to be a dream killer, but you need to be realistic. Do you have, again, money to support you? Do you have the knowledge to support you? And if you do have those things and you get into that business or that position, you need to work twice as hard to prove to your company, your employees, your coworkers, you name it, that you are right for this job, that you have what it takes to succeed in this job. Because, you might have gone from something that was safe, but now you need to prove to yourself especially that you can do it.
Yeah. What comes to my mind is work for free. I'll do this with my children. I don't know if I got to do it much. I probably didn't get the same advice. A lot of people think that when you work, get paid to do it. I think when you're trying to figure out what you're doing, do it for free. Meaning, you'll never be able to find out how it is to run a pizza joint without working at a pizza place, potentially cooking, whatever it may be. And not everybody wants to hire somebody because it's the process of having to find somebody, hire them, fire them, you name it. If you can find the ability to go and volunteer and work for free in the fields that you're considering, you do it for 3 weeks to a month or 6 months, whatever it is, you'll figure out really quickly if it's the right spot for you. Take the learnings that you have and you'll apply them somewhere else if it doesn't apply there.
Yeah.
So I would say, people don't do this enough. They don't go out and do work for free. They don't, as Gary Vaynerchuk calls it, he says, eat shit. They don't do that enough.
Yeah.
And I think that if you put that mindset on, that the only way you're going to learn and become the person you want to be is by doing everything you don't want to do. And eventually you're going to end up with what you want to do.
Exactly.
We all want the perfect, but we got to find out what we're not good at to know what we are.
I think that's perfect. I'm so glad. Yeah. Wow. My mind has been blown. Good job, Josh. I think that was such a good answer. Okay. Number 5, find a role model and supportive people. So you can't succeed without having supportive people to, support you. I mean, if you are going through a big change in your life, the key is to find people that will be there with you as your cheerleaders, the people who are cheering you on. But if you can't find that, or, you don't, maybe you've moved somewhere new, who knows? I find that a really good place to start is just by finding someone who's a role model or someone who was in your position at one time. Even if you don't know them personally, being able to connect with someone on that kind of level will be able to at least push you into the right direction.
Yeah, in my experience, the people that I've found that were in my previous positions where I tried to and get role models were who I wanted to be,
Yeah.
I found it worked not when they're in the same industry. I found if you found someone in the same industry, you're often just learning from them, which is not really a mentor.
And probably comparing
That's
yourself
more
to
just,
them.
they're almost training you. And you're learning, you're watching them to get training. I find mentor is nice when you can talk about similar problems, but have different viewpoints. So maybe different industries, maybe, yeah, different jobs completely. You could have a mentor, maybe, but maybe they have live across the country. I wouldn't think that a mentor should be in the same place of employment. I think that they should be outside, independent, so that they, because otherwise it's mixed interests.
Yeah.
I don't think it would necessarily work. So I 100% agree. Just make sure that when you pick a mentor, or if a mentor is willing to work with you as well, make sure you pick someone that is arm's length away at
Yeah.
minimum, right?
Did you ever have a mentor?
Yeah, I do. I have a few now. And the nice thing is, I think we're mentors to each other.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we all are. I feel like everybody learns a little bit from each other, whether it's different, even if there's a different gap in age, we all bounce ideas off each other's heads, and we know when there's opportunities because we've seen them and they haven't, and vice versa.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, so the number 6 one is understand you don't know anything. And I know this is something that you often say, and I think it's really spot on. Nothing in this world, like I said, was ever meant to stay the same. Things are changing all the time. So if you find yourself in a position where you're like, oh, I know how to do that, but then you get somewhere new and you go, oh my gosh, it's completely different here. You need to understand going into it that you will need more training, or you might not know everything that that company does or that position does. So definitely look for resources. Like I know Josh does personal coach or professional coaching, or you could go back to school, do some courses and stuff like that. Just understand that you do have an opportunity to expand your knowledge, and you should take it.
Yeah. Podcasts as well, videos, YouTube. I watch videos, usually industry specific, or growth oriented. I watch them all the time when I'm at the gym. So if you're jumping on like a bike, or if you're running, listen, and you'll find that it absorbs. You think about things. Even if you pick up one thing, it's one thing that you would have got rather than just reading crap.
Yeah.
So definitely, admitting that we know nothing is the biggest opportunity to learn more.
Absolutely. Definitely. Okay. And number 7, the last one, be patient. Understand that it takes time. You're not going to be able to jump into a new position, or at least start looking for a new position, if you don't take the time to reflect and to let things play out. Things aren't going to, your dream job is not going to just appear to you any day, any time of day. You need to work for it, and you need to look for it. But be patient when you do that. Otherwise, you're just going to stress yourself out.
Yeah, patience. I was at the gym this morning and I saw someone have on their shoulder strength. It was on like the back of the shoulder, and I was like, a tattoo, and I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. I wonder what mine would be, and mine would probably say patience. And I think that when people they say patience is a virtue, right? I believe in business, patience is probably the most single-handedly important thing. You could take it to personal life as well, but everybody wants what everybody else has now.
Yeah.
It does not exist. If you get into that, you're always going to be disappointed. If you can get into the mindset that everything takes time, and if you know it's patience, you'll probably enjoy it a lot more along the way, knowing that you're not going to get what you want immediately. No different than us. We start up the podcast. We probably get enough followers. We don't even care if there's followers, actually. And then if you have patience, these things grow. You build out your audience, and people don't understand that people will find you. Just put yourself out there and have patience and wait for it.
Okay, so those are our 7 steps, or 7 tips at least, to finding, the position you want to be in. I think the most beneficial thing I know I've used when I've even come here is kind of having the mindset of always updating my resume in my brain, kind of thing. When you build a resume, you're putting on your skills, your attributes, things you're good at. Yeah, you never put things you're bad at, but who cares? But those are like in my.
We should.
Actually,
we should put things on there we're bad at and things we hate.
Can I tell you something that I didn't bring to our interview, but the first interview I had when I came to Knowledge Broker, I looked at the sheet of all the things that the job would require, and I noticed there was 3 things on there I had never used before. So when I went to the interview, like the first thing I said was okay, just honest. I've never used those in my life, but I'm a quick learner and I will learn. And I think that because the person interviewing me, Raya, she actually said, she's like, oh, well, like, thank you for your honesty. But she's like, luckily, those aren't 3 things you really aren't the key things and are really easy to learn. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. I was like, what a relief. But
Sure.
I was honest about it.
And saying, I want to learn them
Yeah.
is enough that people go, all right, I can work with you.
Yeah, because I researched them and everything. But yeah, so in the back of your mind, with every choice you make, think about, will this upgrade my resume? Am I moving one step forward or am I moving one step back? I know for me, my skills when I started at this job to where I am now have probably tripled. And they're going to keep growing as much as I grow because I'm a growing person. Like I have a growing personality. So definitely find the opportunities when they approach and seek out new opportunities.
There's 2 things to that I can think of. I'll address your first comment. Seeking out new opportunities, waiting for others to present the opportunities to you is a fail.
Yeah.
You have to speak up. You have to tell people what you're interested in. You have to come up with new ideas, and then ultimately table them, and people will make it happen. So have the courage to speak up. And second to that, back to our original check mark box of like what you're good at and what you love. What you're good at and what you love, we try to make sure that we focus on that for jobs. Realize that things that we are good at, we'll probably get better at. We may not love them as much one day as we did the day before. So realize that we do adapt and change. As we get really good at things, we often get bored with them. It's a reality of life. So remember that what you're doing today is not necessarily what you're going to want to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
But have patience, enjoy it, and always be willing to adapt.
Awesome. Okay. Well then, on that note, I think that's where we're going to stop the podcast today.
Cool.
I hope you guys took something away from this because I know even just researching this kind of stuff made me reflect a little bit more on myself and my progress. And I think professionally and personally, I'm headed in the right direction. So that makes me feel really cool. But anyway, guys, like always, comment, email us with any of your thoughts. And Josh, did you have any closing thoughts?
No, that's all. I think it was a great podcast. I enjoyed it.
Okay, great. All right. Well, until next Tuesday, I'm Trish.
And I'm Josh.
Have a great week.
All the best.
Thank you very much for stopping by our channel. If you have any questions or if you're looking to buy or sell, go to our website and contact us today. Knowledge is power and creates experts in understanding. If you want power, hit thumbs up on this video and subscribe to our channel so you can get weekly videos from me, your knowledge.